Welcome to the Free Woman Podcast, a space for all women who are ready to break free of the inauthentic life. Hello, free women.
Hi, hello, welcome.
How has your week been?
Hopefully good, because it's needs to happen.
Yeah, we have just kind of been feeling a little bit of that turn to fall weather, a little bit of that crispness. I love fall, so
I do too. It's my favorite season.
Makes me happy.
I love that feeling in the morning too, with the crisp air and just the leaves changing color, and there's a little bit of that mildew, or not mildew.
Oh God. I really love when that mildew just clings to, and you just breathe it in.
Well, probably. I did experience that when I lived in Florida. You just took in a deep breath and there was mildew in the air. But not here.
We live in a desert climate.
Yeah, more of that, like the water on the grass and on the trees. And
the dew.
The dew, yeah.
Without the mill. Just the dew.
Yeah, my brain's a little rattled this morning because we decided today we want to talk about my experience of almost becoming homeless. I can't technically say I am homeless because I live in your home.
Depends how you qualify it. So in America, I don't think you maybe fit the exact definition, but in other countries they do define homelessness as someone who's,
Lost their home.
Yeah. Living with friends and family.
Living with friends and family. And that is
And since the family is no bueno, you're living with a friend.
Yeah, the family really, well, there's a whole backstory to all that, but they checked out, so.
But the friend who is like family is okay too. It's pretty good.
I'm really grateful. I love living with you, and you are like my family, so, and it's great for the kids, so it's been a win.
Yeah, it's something that's come up a few times on the podcast of Kat being homeless.
Yeah, we've kind of laughed and joked about it.
We should probably tell a little bit of that story and clarify that Kat is not coming out from under
a bridge.
From under a bridge to do the podcast every week.
I know. I am not living in a tent in a park, although I've thought about it. There was times I was like, well, that just might happen in the summer.
Oh, God.
Summer months.
We don't live in a very good climate for that, too. You'd have maybe a few months where it was doable, and
June and July and
August. Then you'd be getting frostbite.
Yeah, and, I do have 2 kids, so I don't think that would really go over well with, I don't think they would want that, but also, obviously, with having a partner, an ex-husband, he would fight that one.
Yeah, CPS doesn't approve
No, they
that. Don't. You can hit your kid, but you can't have them sleeping outside.
No, you can't.
And so, though, it's kind of crazy to laugh about it because that is a reality for so many people. And like you've said, that was almost your reality. And
it was.
At one point in my life, it was a reality.
Yeah, you went through it too.
Yeah, it was the best of the options in front of us. So we bought a teepee with our limited funds and stayed in it, my ex and I, with our kids for a summer. And we painted it as a fun adventure. And, there were parts of it that were a fun adventure, but there were also parts of it that were really hard. We didn't have a floor or a platform for our teepee. So
running water.
We didn't have running water. We didn't have even an outhouse. We had to go to a family member's house to shower and clean up and use things like gas stations or the public library for toilets.
Well, when I was a kid, I loved the outdoors, and I actually I dreamed of living in a teepee. So you kind of partially lived a little bit of my dream.
I was like, if we have to do this, let's do it this way. And so we did it that way. And there was, like I said, some really magical parts. But if you also look at it from a very grounded, realistic, I guess non-fantasy lens, it was homelessness, and it was pretty not pretty. There were a lot of not pretty things about it, but we can focus on the pretty parts and kind of paint it a
It
different
helps
way.
you to get through it, right? When
It
you focus on
does.
like the pretty parts.
It does, and
It's
and
a
it
coping
helped the kids,
mechanism.
I think, too, because they weren't even really aware that we were homeless. They just thought we were having a camping
A
summer.
fun adventure.
Camping summer, yay. And I I guess that the reality of the situation really started to set in, like I said, when the weather started to turn. And when you're living outside, you can really feel that weather turn. You can feel the nights get colder and you know that it's coming, and there's kind of this anxiety with it. And I remember feeling that anxiety because my ex had still not, I guess, discovered himself. He was wanting to change careers, which was part of what sent us into that situation. And that had still not materialized, and the weather was turning, and we didn't have options. So we did end up living with a family member for a while, and then another family member helped us get into a housing situation, and then we luckily didn't have to go through winter
Outside.
outside. Idaho winters are not good.
Well, and I knew you had this experience, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about having your friendship through that lifespan of, or that timeline of what I went through, is I knew you understand the anxiety I was experiencing and the fear and just having panic attacks. I'm like, this is going to be my reality. And you would help me kind of like talk through it and ground down. And
Well, and I know the time thing, like I said, I thought, oh, we'll take the summer, figure this out, and then find a place to live. And, it didn't work out that way. And I know you felt that frustration too of not having things figured out as quickly as you had hoped. And so you've been in my basement. We're coming up on a year.
almost a year. And I thought maybe I'd be here for a couple months, and well, it's almost been a year.
Well,
so
it's
just a surprise.
Really, I think, is our society of like, well, figure it out, work that extra job, save those pennies or whatnot. Totally discounting the the amount of problems that come along with hitting that rock bottom financial place.
Well,
And that it can't just be a quick fix. It can't just be, oh, work the night shift somewhere and everything will be fine.
yeah, well, you're so mentally and physically exhausted
That.
from the toll of the stress of the possibility of becoming homeless and what am I going to do, especially when you have very little outlets or people that you thought were going to be there and help you end up showing you their true colors and are not there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, the mental impact of hitting that point, and then the amount of resources it takes to turn things around, and the fact that people in those low financial places do not have access to those resources.
That you don't. And I had at the time, towards the end of so I ultimately had to file bankruptcy. That was the thing that really got me out of my messy loan situation. And I had a caseworker that was helping me, and I had got him through my son's therapy building. They were actually asking me questions when we were interviewing for my son and finding him the right therapist. And they're like, are you by any chance going to be becoming homeless, or are you homeless? And I was like, actually, yeah, yes. And by this time, I didn't know where to find help. So I got a caseworker, and he started helping me, and he started talking to me as if they were going to just find me a home, a place to live. And so the anxiety started to go down quite a bit, because I was like, oh, someone actually cares. Someone's going to actually help me get into a home, right? As I have to leave my home and the foreclosure and the bankruptcy and everything. And after about a month and a half working with him, I started to realize, no, they're actually not going to be able to help me. It's more words than anything. I can apply for stuff, but the wait list to get into any type of housing was like looking about 12 months to 18 months for any type of help. And I wasn't homeless yet, so it wasn't as much of a dire need to get into something.
Yeah, so they weren't even really looking at you in that light yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, they were concerned because I do have 2 kids, but he was like, well, and I kind of joked, I'm like, I guess my backup plan is living in my car. And he's like, oh, no, we'll get you into a shelter before that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is so much homelessness is hidden in our society. The vast majority of homeless people aren't sleeping on the streets at night. They're in a shelter, they're in their car, they're hidden from view. And there is about 30% of homeless people do have kids. And so there's so many misconceptions around who this population of people are. Like, they are not all jobless drug addicts. A lot of them are trying to work. They are trying.
People like me.
Yeah, they have kids. They have, they weren't always these gutter people or whatnot. They, maybe owned businesses that went belly up, or they had a domestic violence situation that they had to flee from. Or in your case, there's a whole story how that happened too.
Yeah, I unfortunately trusted a friend that's a realtor, and her husband, who I at the time did not trust or like him very much.
Yeah, you didn't like the husband, but you did like her.
Exactly. And so I asked her to help me to get a home, because at the time, that's when things started to shift with rent. I was paying $1,300 a month, and then I found out, I think maybe 3 months before my lease was going to end and I have a chance to renew it, they were raising it up to $1,800. And I was like, can they do this? Can they actually raise my rent $500? The answer is yes. There's no
in Idaho. There are very minimal, if any, laws to protect renters. And so this has been happening a lot in our area.
It has.
And we're seeing a spike of people having to move into friends or families' basements because of this.
Yeah, to go into like the joint communal living, so that way they can afford to live.
And so this was happening to you. At the time, you could have made it work, but when your friend said that she could help you get a mortgage, why not be spending that $2,000 a month towards a mortgage than rent, right?
That's exactly. I was like, I had already been divorced for about 3 years. I was like, I've been working long enough. I should be able to apply and get a home now, and I would rather put it towards something that I can build towards.
Yeah, and that's like another barrier towards people getting a home, is you have to show a certain amount of income for a certain amount of time. And if you're recently divorced, and there's all of these factors that like go into making it a struggle, even if you can afford the house payment, right?
Yes, it was very... at the time, I didn't understand everything. It was very confusing to me, especially at my divorce. I was like, I can't believe I can't just go buy a home. Yeah. My ex could, and he did, and he's been financially stable since the divorce. Because,
well, he's owned multiple homes.
Oh, multiple homes, yes. Multiple.
Please, sir, may I have a home?
That's really how it's felt with him.
Oliver, and your little bowl of soup, please, sir.
Yeah, please, sir. Can I? No, he actually really wants me to ask for help.
I was going to say, he would have loved that. He would have loved if you had done that. He would have just stroked his ego right up.
So much.
And then he would have been like, no.
He would have really enjoyed that as well. So he wants me to feel pretty small.
Yeah, well, it's financial abuse, which is always a part of domestic violence, whether the other person is the breadwinner or you're the breadwinner. I've seen it both ways. They find a way to put you in a very financially difficult situation if you walk away. It's part of the trap, the spider's web that abusers set.
It's so hard to pull yourself out of that type of situation. And I worked really hard after my divorce to prove to myself that I can do it. And I worked really hard. And then the fact that I got approved to buy a home was this huge achievement for me. I was so excited to finally give my kids a home, a safe place, something to build, have memories in.
Well, that's one of the promises that these realtors made you, is that they sort of specialized in helping low-income people
Yes.
buy their first home.
Kind of also single moms as well. Like, we can help you. Don't worry, we can help you. So and at the time too, this is when the market was really
Interest rates were good.
Houses were selling in like a day. So
Really aggressive market.
really aggressive market. So on top of that, I did get into a home. It was priced higher than I could afford, but because things were selling so quickly, my realtor like, don't worry, you can do this. Just work a little bit more. We'll get you into this home. And I was doing all of this within I think it was a month and a half.
Yeah.
So, and then my where I was living, I also had to be out of it too. So there was a lot of stress. I guess that's what I'm trying to put out there. Is like, there was a lot of stress.
There were a lot of promises, and there was a need for it to happen fast.
So, and also, I'm not a realtor. I'm not a lender. I don't do accounting. I don't do any of this stuff. It's not something I enjoy. So I trusted this company and the realtors with everything.
Yeah. Well, and why wouldn't you? I mean, that's their job. That is the whole purpose of their existence, is so that people like you don't have to understand every single confusing legal term associated with home lending.
I mean, have you tried to read a loan?
I know, like the word,
It's so-
well, like there's a whole specialty within the legal world for home law.
There is.
For real estate law.
It's like a foreign language.
Because it's its whole own thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you hired specialists.
I hired specialists.
And they were supposedly doing their job right.
Well,
and it felt like this miracle happened. And as a single mom, working her tush off, you finally got that, American dream.
I did. I got that American dream. And I was so ecstatic. I was so happy to have a home for me and my kids. Like I said, to start building the memories and make
and
it
that
like
you
our
had
own.
done this. You had done this with your own hard work.
I did. So, but long story short, let's not get into all the details of how it all like went down. But the realtors were committing fraud on several loans, incling mine.
Yeah, you're aware of at least 7.
Correct. And
but who knows how many?
Who knows how many? And it wasn't just the realtors, it was also the lender as well. They were trying to make some quick
They were
cash.
forcing through loans that maybe obviously shouldn't have been forced through.
Exactly.
And kind of like fudging some of the numbers.
So a year into it, I find out.
Well, you have no idea. You're like, I'm here. I'm making it work. You're having to work extra, which was a lot to have that mortgage, but it was your mortgage, so you were doing it.
And I felt like the money was going towards something. And also, like, the little bit of money I had left from my divorce, I used that money to get this house. So I was working really hard just to keep everything going.
Well, and your basement flooded, and there were home repairs that needed to happen, and so you did invest money in the house.
Man, I did. I went in and I was a homeowner, and I got to start work. I started to work on all the problems that comes with owning a home. So it was overwhelming at times. But yeah, I found out a year later that the loan was fraudulent, and that I had to either sell my home, or I had to refinance, or I had to pay the loan completely off, $300,000, because I had that cash lying around, or they were going to force foreclosure within 60 days. So when I got this news,
it was meant to be very intimidating.
Yes.
It was meant to bring you, like, put you into a panic so you would just do whatever they told you to do.
and it kind of worked. It did work. I was in panic.
Well, when you receive a letter that's a legal, very written in this very official legal way, that's that's saying all these threatening things, but you can't quite understand everything, and it feels like you're in trouble. And yeah, I mean, it's like having the police show up at your house.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
these authority systems.
I still have a hard time opening my email because of this. I have a hard time checking my mail because of this. I have a really hard time opening mail because I feel like there's going to be another warning or something is going to be taken away from me, and it sticks with you. So so I did try to sell my home, but that did not happen. But
well, you tried to refinance it too, because they said refinance, sell, or pay off the entire amount.
I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be able to refinance, and I also didn't want to because the interest rates had already gone up. So I was going to be paying another $1,000 a month to keep my home, and I was like, I know I can't do that. I do not have it in me to make that much more income, plus on top of everything else I was trying to carry each month. So realistically, I was like, the best thing for my situation was to sell. Because even if I sell, maybe I would still get a little bit of money because the house price had already gone up in just a year because that's when everything was booming. Maybe I'll still have a little bit so I can find a place to rent, I can move, and I can just move on with my life. It did not end up being that easy.
No, the market had slowed down, and what you needed to sell your house for to even break even was not the price point that would have moved it.
Well, and on top of that, each month, so I started speaking with somebody from the mortgage company. She was the compliance officer. We were emailing. She seemed nice at first. I thought she actually genuinely wanted to help me, but she did not. Why would they?
Dun, dun, dun.
But each month they kept kind of threatening me. If I don't sell, then we're going to foreclose. And they made it seem like there was nothing they could do. Maybe we can extend it another month. You better keep lowering your house price to sell it. And I got to the point where I told them if I lower it anymore, I am not going to have anything so I can move into another place. I will have nowhere to live. And sometimes she's like, oh, that's too bad. That's her response. And then finally, after doing this for about 6 months, the threat of foreclosure, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I giving them $2,000 a month if they're just going to foreclose on me? I was just like, what am I doing? Why am I keep giving them this money if they're planning to foreclose on me? So I stopped making a house payment because I was like, okay, I already had gotten advice from another lender that understood what was going on. He's like, I would go ahead and just stop paying because it sounds like they want to just foreclose. Go ahead and let the foreclosure process just happen. And then you can save what you need to save so you can move on to another place you can rent. And come to find out, that was not correct either.
Well, they purposefully, I mean, it's abuse, right?
It
was corporate abuse or however you want to say it. And they purposely orchestrated things so that you had no choices.
They did, and it was
no choice that ended up with you keeping your home or ending up okay.
Their only interest was on their end and make sure they do not lose any more money.
Well, I think it goes even deeper than that. I think they were worried about the fraud, about an investigation. I think you were a liability, and I think they needed this
cleaned up, done. I completely agree, but I was becoming a problem because it was not as easy as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you were like the one holdout, probably because you were the most desperate.
I know.
So you were willing to fight more than the other families were.
Well, yeah, and thankfully I had a lender that had worked for this mortgage company and the realtor that had helped me get the home that committed the fraud. So he was giving me a lot of backstory. He was letting me know about the other people that had the same problem with their loans and what they were doing. I mean, I ended up meeting a retired lawyer later that year too, that started to help me too, to read the paperwork, to understand things, and to also help me realize that one, it is not my fault. I did not lie, or did I ever
You didn't commit fraud.
I did not commit fraud. The fraud was actually coming from the inside. And
But because they had your signature on fraudulent papers, they tried to spin it on you.
they did.
Which is what corporations do. It's like the hot potato that no one wants to end up stuck with.
Exactly.
And so it's the person with the least legal sway, the least resources, the least power who ends up holding the hot potato.
Well, and on top of that, my mental health going through this and my physical health was dwindling. I was not okay. I was suffering from pretty severe depression. I was going to some pretty dark places in my mind because this was all on me, one individual, and I've never faced anything like this before. I mean, I've been through divorce, but that was very different. This is like a feeling of I'm going to lose everything. Nobody cares. I don't know what to do, and I may become homeless. I have no money left. Everything I had, I put into that home, and it makes you feel small. There's just so much shame that comes with it too. I chose not to hide. I told everybody what was going on because I had everybody knew how excited I was about getting this house, and then they saw a for sale sign in my yard, and they're like, oh, you're going to move now? I'm like, no, that's not what's happening. I'm facing fraud on my loan, and I'm trying to fight it. But having the retired lawyer, sorry if I pause, my brain is a little all over the place. And I'm trying to find the right words that I want. But the lawyer, he helped me so much to feel like I had a fighting chance. And we were trying to put a case together. And it made me feel not as afraid and as alone too. But the deeper we got into it, the further we got into it, I just started to realize that I don't have the money to fight them because I would have to find an actual lawyer. I could maybe try to do this on my own, but because of how big they are,
would it have been very expensive, but you're not guaranteed a win.
Exactly.
Because the legal nature of things is it's like a tangled ball of yarn, and being able to explain it to a judge who's not a real estate expert.
Yeah.
And they will try to bury you and make it look like it's all your fault. And so is it even worth the fight when you don't have the money to fight? And then you couldn't get the other people to fight. They were afraid. They had already signed agreements or refinanced, and they didn't want to get pulled in to this legal mess.
Everybody was afraid, and I understand. I was afraid. I was going through it. I'm afraid, but everybody's afraid. I think that we've just gotten to the point in our society where it's better just to keep the blinders on and push through your own life. Don't look around what's going on around you. And fear really does work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just keep getting this cartoonish image of, I don't remember which, if it's like Looney Tunes or what it was, but the guy with the mustache and the top hat, and he's always like, and he's like really long and skinny, and he's like,
yeah, I can see that in my head
and
too.
he's like coming in to steal your little bag of coins.
Yeah, it was very disappointing when we were trying to build the case, even against the realtor, James Billman. And I'm going to say his name because he's still a realtor. And that has not been revoked. Unfortunately, he's not safe. So as I even tried to build the case with my friend that is the retired lawyer, I had talked to a few people that knew him through working in mortgages and loan offices,
and had seen
him,
his dishonesty.
And people that knew of his character, and I'm like, would you feel comfortable in sharing this? And I was surprised, not surprised at how quickly people kind of freaked out and pulled away and are like, oh, no, I'm so sorry. I don't want to get involved. I don't think I can say these things about him. I don't want to get involved into a court case. And I was like, I understand. I get it. I know this would change your life. He could sue you because that's what happens now. But it was just one disappointment after the other of nobody stepping up and trying to create a case to go after the bad guys. But I also understand, like, I hated that I was in that situation. I hated that that had become my life. I did this for a year and a half, 2 years, and it took such a toll on me that I couldn't work anymore. I was crying all the time. I was having panic attacks. My body was starting to break down, and also my mental health was not in a good place. I couldn't think clearly. Things that used to seem so easy for me weren't anymore. And this was also taking a toll on my kids, because obviously my kids live with me and they see me going through this. And I could feel it in them that this was also affecting them. And it was always a conversation of, how much longer are we going to have in our home? Do you know where we're going to live? When do we need to start packing? Are we going to be able to take our animals with us? And I just kept saying, I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm doing the best I can. I'm going to make sure that we're okay. It's a lot to carry.
Well, the date kept shifting because they kept throwing these really scary dates at you, where it's like, you have to have it sold by this date, or you have to have it done by this date, or then you have to be refinanced by this date. And so it kept being like, well, maybe we have this long, and maybe we have this long, and it kept shifting because they were just bullying and using scare tactics. They didn't actually have any legal umph behind them until they started the foreclosure process.
But then when that started, they did, the compliance officer, this woman that I'm communicating with, who I just can't stand, she kept trying to trick me just to hand the house over to them.
That's what I'm saying. Like the guy with the mustache, he's like,
oh, don't worry. You can just get out of this mess completely if you just sign these papers and let us take over.
Just sign your house over to us and it'll all be done.
And then she gave me the option. She's like, if you can, because I had stopped making the payments because
they said it doesn't matter if you pay or not. They're going to foreclose, period, because it's a fraudulent loan.
Yeah. And then she said, well, if you catch up on your late payments, then we can talk about you trying to sell your home again. You can stay in it until such and such date. And it was about a 4-month period. And in my mind, I was like, okay. And my friend that's a retired lawyer, this could be good. This will give us more time to create a case. And what's the word I want when you're behind on your payments?
Delinquent.
When you're delinquent, it's harder to have a case. It looks like it is definitely my fault. So I personally did not have the money to catch back up because like I said, I was so unwell. It was really hard to
Well, you had
work
accepted
full-time.
this as your reality of we're just going to be here for a few months and then it's over.
Yes.
You didn't think that there would ever be an option to catch back up.
No. So I didn't. I just couldn't. So I did find a way to catch up my loan. It was almost like getting a grant, and it helps people that are behind on their loans. They pay it up to date for you, and then there's just like a few things that you have to do with the grant, so that way they don't take the money back. So this money was sent in to this mortgage company and into the compliance officer, and they rejected the money.
Yeah, they sent it back.
And the people I was working with
because if they had accepted that money, they wouldn't have been able to kick you out of the house, which was always the plan, regardless of if you caught up or not.
Exactly.
And so it's a good thing you did it that way, because if you had just sent them a check, they would have cashed that.
They would have.
And then they would have still kicked you out of your house.
Yeah, and then there would have been more money I lost.
Yeah, they would have found another way to bully you out of the home.
Yeah, so that happened between about 7 months of them rejecting the money, and then them also selling my loan to another mortgage company. I didn't even know they could do that.
Yeah, they do that all the time.
They do it all the time. So they didn't want my loan anymore. So they gave it to someone else. And This is 7
Yeah, they didn't want
months
your
in.
loan because it was fraudulent and dirty and getting messy and taking longer than it was supposed to take.
They're like, man, this is a lot more than we thought. She's a fighter. I'm really not. I really hate doing this stuff. But 2 months or
Well, you were fighting to not be homeless.
I was fighting to not be homeless and to have a home for me and my children.
Yeah.
You know, there's a willpower that comes up inside you when that stuff
When you're
happens.
desperate, when you're
you're
backed into a
desperate.
corner. Like you said, a lot of people aren't willing to stand up when it's not their head on the chopping block.
Yeah, I know.
It takes a very unique personality, usually someone who has been through something like what you've been through, to be able to stand up and support someone else who's going through something like that. And so you fought, you were strong because you had no other choice.
I had no other choice. I know people whenever they tell me I'm strong, I'm like,
Oh, wow, you're so strong. You're so brave. It's like, what choice do I have?
what choice do I have? I have 2 kids, and they really are the reason I stand up for things and make these hard choices. So I got about 2 months away from my foreclosure date. I finally found out where my loan was sold to because they weren't even giving me that
Yeah, they didn't want to give you the info because they didn't want the new lender to know what was going on.
No, they
that
didn't.
They got a bad loan.
So the new lender was like, of course we'll work with you. Why wouldn't we work with you? I was like, okay, I've already been approved by this corporation to catch up my loan, so I'm not delinquent anymore. And they're like, that's great. Yes, of course we'll take that. So I called, I got it all set up. It's even more money now, but this program was like, yes, we'll still help you if it's this much. And then also the lawyer fees.
Yeah, they threw in all their little fees too.
So I also had all the lawyer fees that I was responsible
It's like
for
the
now.
person who has the most money in this situation is somehow the person who's like somehow not responsible for any of the fees.
So, I mean, by this point, I was just so over all of this. And I was like, okay, we'll try. We'll see if they accept this. But a part of me was like, I don't know if they're going to. I think they're going to find out that the loan is dirty and they're going
to not want it.
to have to reject it.
Yeah.
And so that is what happened. They got the money, and this lady from this new mortgage company was so much kinder. And she's like, I am so sorry. I don't know why, but we can't accept this. My attorneys just told me today that there's something wrong with the loan. I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
That's what I thought. And I think that they were frustrated too because they had no idea.
Yeah, it had been sold to them under false pretenses.
So my next step was, well, I better find an attorney to file bankruptcy because I have this much time to get this done before foreclosure date, because I have up until the day before, the minutes before foreclosure starts, to get filed before, and then I can stay in the house however much more time after.
And so then you would at least have like a set amount of time that you could rely on, and rather than being in this limbo of are we going to stay, are we not going to stay, are we going to be kicked out next month?
Yeah.
Do we have 30 days? Like, because they kept giving you different.
It was just such
information.
It was such a scattered game that it was making me crazy.
Well, they were just throwing everything at the wall and seeing if any
were.
of it would stick. If they could bully you in any way that would get them the result they wanted.
Exactly. But finally, I actually felt a relief when I decided bankruptcy. I was like, I finally have a plan, and it fucking sucks. I couldn't believe I was going through this. I was just like, wow. I mean, I never thought I would be going through this.
Well, and it brings up so much. I think even people without your trauma, when they go through something like that, they feel a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of feelings of failure. I mean, if you're not Donald Trump, and you just file bankruptcy as part of your life.
I know.
But you also, after going through the financial abuse with your ex and growing up in poverty, I think there were a lot of feelings of like worthlessness and failure.
Yeah, it was bringing up all of my childhood trauma. And not only that, about 9 months prior to filing bankruptcy, I had to make the really hard choice of going no contact with almost my entire family, except for one cousin that I knew was safe to talk to. That is like a whole nother backstory, and there's just so much entanglement. with family abuse and patterns and cycles. But I ultimately knew in order to get out of their cattiness and creating this story with me and making me the scapegoat, I had to go completely no contact. And it broke my heart. It was the hardest. Well, I go back and forth. I don't know what's been the hardest thing, the house or my family.
Good thing they both happened within a year of each other.
Yeah. So, but it was
get it all out of the way at once.
It was. Well, God, that's what those 2 years was. It was really everything.
Well, it's kind of funny because you go through a divorce and you're like, this is the hardest thing I've ever been through.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, this is the hardest thing I've been. No, this one.
This is the hardest.
Okay, if we have to go through any more hard things, we might just be done.
I'm checking out. I am done.
Just roll my limp body into a hole and leave me.
I mean, the house
cannot do this anymore.
The house could be on fire, and I really just would not care. I'd be like, I don't care anymore, and that's really where
warm
I
up
was.
your tea and
just watch
sit
it.
back and
it's okay. I already know no one's gonna help. I don't want to mess up your day.
You're just gonna feel like that. Your house is on fire, and people are just kind of walking by, like, oh wow, I wonder what's going on over there.
Yeah, that's too bad for them. That's not how my day started.
Make sure you contain that so it doesn't spread.
Yeah, and I feel like I can joke about these things and laugh about these things because I've lived it. So
it's horrible. It is.
It's horrible.
It's the absolute just worst thing a human can go through. Just feeling completely at the bottom of society, out of options, and nobody cares. Just like you're just a rat or a rabid dog, and people just don't want to deal with you. And there's this shame, and there's kind of an unspoken judgment, like, oh yeah, right, you of all people who've filed been foreclosed on, you are the one who didn't deserve it. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult place when you are standing in that moment of realizing you are the person actually going through it. And I felt like many times I have no options. And to also feel completely alone and like you don't have family.
And that's something that so often leads to homelessness is because of abuse. Mm-hmm. They don't have family they can go to. They can't go live with the parent. They'd rather live on the street because of abuse. Yeah,
I mean, I did feel that way about my mom anyways. I was like, I'd rather go live in my car.
Yep.
Because every time it came to my mother asking for help, I felt like I was begging. And prior, when I was getting this home and I didn't know what my living situation was going to be because I didn't know if I was going to get a home quick enough, I had already asked her if I could live with her. And she was like, well, I don't know. Like, I could tell. I could just feel, you can feel your family. That I was making her uncomfortable, and she did not want me to move in with my 2 kids. I was not surprised that she answered that way, but again, it's just another hit to the gut.
And I think, as someone who lives with you, I should clarify, like, you are not the kind of person that just like takes up a lot of space or is hard to live with. It's like kind of like living with a little mouse who sometimes does your dishes for you. And so this idea of your mom being like, well, I don't know, as if you're just going to be this huge inconvenience, just this really difficult person, is just so untrue.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for validating that.
And it's not like your mom has a lot going on in her life.
No, she doesn't. Well, so going back to this reality of I'm filing bankruptcy. My house is going through foreclosure. At this time is when I started talking to the caseworker, and I felt a little peace coming in. I did feel my stress level and anxiety level go down. I was maybe starting to sleep a little bit. And he was like, yeah, what kind of place do you want to move into? And what are your options? And so I was telling him, and like, where's the school zone, where my kids go? And I felt like someone was going to help me. But the closer I got to realizing when I need to move out, the more I realized the state's not going to help me. Again, the state's not going to help me.
Well, that's the thing is that everyone talks about these state programs that are available to help homeless people, to get them into assisted housing or just housing, period. They don't talk about the fact that these lists are like 2 years long.
Yeah.
And someone who's facing immediate homelessness, they can't just like, I guess they go and they sleep in a tent for 2 years. And then how do you even keep track of a person that doesn't have a mailing address to give them help, to give them resources? It's such an awful situation.
It is. It's, I don't know. I guess the word for me that keeps coming up is it's just so numbing. I just felt numb.
Well, I just keep feeling this evil rich man twirling his mustache, and it's like all of the burden of this system is being put on the people who have the least. Mm-hmm. It is being put on the people who are at the absolute bottom, who can't defend themselves, who don't have resources to stand up for themselves. And meanwhile, it's so the people at the top can save a few pennies.
It is.
Or not face the consequences of fraudulent behavior.
Yeah, I had just realized personally by going through it how little help there is. And the system is created so the little man, the little woman, the single mom has no way out. You just stay in the bottom. And trying to get out of the bottom is to me at times feels impossible.
Well, and I've known I've known several homeless people who were fleeing domestic violence, and they lost everything they had financially because of the domestic violence. And a lot of times they're doing this with kids in tow, mm-hmm. and they don't have anywhere that they can go. And it's just kind of crazy that we would shame these people and treat them like they're worthless. And then, but if they stay in the domestic violence situation, we also shame them for putting up with that kind of treatment.
For not leaving.
And there's just no resources. And then, like we've talked about, the mental health toll that it takes from being in an abusive situation, and then add homelessness to it, add sleeping in your car, add everyone treating you like you are the scum of the earth. And how is this person ever supposed to create anything in their life? I mean, these are people with college degrees.
Yeah,
these are people that have owned businesses, that pay their bills on time, but circumstances put them in this situation.
Speaking from personal experience, you usually just give up. Once you get down there, especially when you're so physically bone deep, exhausted, you kind of have to face your reality of like, this is just it. This is my life now.
Well, and also you've lost everything.
Yeah.
And so you've lost everything and you're having to completely rebuild mm-hmm. from this place of homelessness.
Yeah. And then not on top of that, the type of work I do is physical, and I just couldn't do it anymore because my body was just dying. I
was pretty sure that the end was near.
Yeah, thankfully I have an amazing doctor who's helping me now, but I knew something was going on with my adrenals. I knew my cortisol in my body was too high. I knew that I was suffering from brain fog. I still am. That's why I have a hard time talking on here sometimes. I knew something was going on with my body because I couldn't relax. I couldn't sleep. I kept getting really sick. My body started to hurt in a way that I couldn't rest and relax.
But have you thought about just going and getting 3 jobs that won't even cover gas
anything,
and doing that to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get yourself back on your feet?
Well, I did think about doing that, and then I went back to sleep. Because I have no more fight in me. I have no more drive. The thought of trying to rebuild myself has felt impossible. I have rested enough now that there's mornings where I'm like, okay, maybe we can do this.
Yeah.
I am feeling a little bit of a fire come back in because I'm right now on here talking about my story, even though it feels very raw and not easy to go back into this timeline and talk about it out loud.
Well, and let's not forget that you were and are in a co-parenting situation.
Uh-huh.
And so here I'm seeing the twisting his little mustache.
Oh, yeah.
Of just waiting so that he can take the kids.
Yeah.
He just wanted to take the kids and have them full time and use the homelessness as an excuse, which would have worked
As a tool.
if you had been living in a tent.
Yeah. Well, so...
Because you're also trying to get child support while you're going through all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's not paying what he should be.
That's another thing I'm also doing is trying to get child support. And it wasn't even my choice. The state just decided to reinstate it and check to see if we're in balance. And they asked me if I wanted them to check. And I was like, yeah, I already know he doesn't pay enough. He's never
Well, you've never
paid
had never had anyone look at the numbers.
I've always
You just went off of what he said he wanted to pay.
Yes, exactly. I was too nice, but that also goes back to my trauma, my experience as a child and watching my parents go through their divorce. And I knew you just need to keep the man happy. So at least you get something. And so that was what I did. And because I did that, I got no alimony. I got pennies for child support. But I did get money because we had to sell our house because he basically
Well, you got
forced
money
me
from
out.
selling one of the houses.
One of the houses.
Yeah, there were other things. There were other assets. There was a lot.
There was a lot.
You just, like you said, didn't go after it because who wants to go through a huge legal battle when they're trying to escape a narcissist?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's just like inviting in more pain and misery.
And I already at the time was extremely exhausted. At that same time, a few months prior, my dad had died in a car accident. And so I was also taking care of that legal stuff. So
it really was one thing after another. Yeah. You know, like your dad died, you got divorced. It's like you bought the house, you lost the house, you went no contact with your fam. It was just
it was a lot. And then
lot.
at the same time,
and you're trying to get child support.
and I'm trying to get child support. So the state does issue a new amount, and I knew he was going to freak out because it was like triple the amount.
I know, because he wasn't paying enough.
And so obviously, by no surprise, he hires his lawyer to contest
fight the
again
state.
and fight the state. The state, they suck. They do not help you at all. So I had to hire
Another
an attorney.
system that is in place that is broken. It's just thing after thing after thing of we like act like these poor people, these underprivileged, these victims are going to be taken care of because we have this whole justice system in place, blah, 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 and social welfare programs. And all of them are just so broken.
They're broken. Well, not only that, they don't have enough people.
They don't have resources.
They don't have resources, and they're burnt out. I mean, I can tell when you're talking to them.
All day long, they're just watching train crash after train crash, and they're just like, eventually you just don't have it in you to care anymore.
Yeah,
you go numb.
It's pretty awful to be around. So I hired my attorney, and so a thing that could have taken a few months ended up also taking it a year and a half.
Yeah, well, your ex was purposefully
have.
stretching it out as long as possible, and also your ex is a realtor.
He's a
so he is watching.
Yeah.
Behind, he's able to look at all of the documents, everything, all of the financials on the bankruptcy because he has access, and so it's just this horrible abuse on view.
Yeah, once I had to put my house up for sale and I realized my ex, it just like hit me. I was like, oh my God, he could just come in here. And I let my realtor know he is not allowed. Nobody on his team, nobody is allowed to come into this house, even though he can obviously go online now and look at all the pictures that were taken, which felt like such a violation of my privacy because I had tried to keep my life so private from him because of the abuse. It felt
like he was reading your journals all over again.
Yeah, that was one of the things he did is he'd read my journals. So
yeah, and it's just this invasion of privacy by this person that has financially abused you for years.
Yeah, so the same time that I'm hiring a bankruptcy attorney, I'm also going to mediation for child support, and we were not prepared, and I knew he would do something, but the extent of how he found his way, weaseled his way out of this one, I was like, oh, good job. Applause.
I know. I had a few moments like that with my ex in court where I was like, I really wish I could clap right now.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know. I could tell.
That's some good footwork there.
Yeah.
That dance number.
I could tell my mediator was surprised that he figured out how to get out of this. And I could also tell he knew he couldn't do anything to help me. My next option was...
Well, and because your ex is also self-employed, the number that he's likely reporting that they were using for child support is no way his full income.
Oh, no.
Like, there's no way,
No
especially
way.
where he's got dual citizenship and he's got family in other countries. Like, it's just so obvious.
It is obvious. I mean, his mom's a realtor too, so...
Yeah, and, if a guy's trying to get out of paying child support, or a woman, we can be gender neutral,
Yeah.
and they're self-employed, there are so many things they can do.
Yeah, I've seen that with other friends.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, it does happen all the time. So he was trying to accuse me of saying I'm not being...
So how does a woman become homeless when her ex, the father of her children, has multiple homes?
I know.
It actually happens all the time.
It does. It happens all the time. So he's trying to accuse me that I'm not saying I'm making the right amount of money, that I'm hiding money.
Well, he's accusing you of what he's doing.
Exactly. So I've learned this. This is a very important thing to know. This is what toxic people abusers do. Whatever they're doing, they blame you for it. And so I was like, oh, you're hiding money, aren't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, so just to kind of wrap that up, I ended up just settling for a little bit more because going to court was going to cost $5,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could do it. I was like, I know I could do it, and then maybe get...
Yeah, but not only that, but you would have had to hire a forensic accountant, which can cost up to $10,000.
Yeah.
And it's just like we were saying, to get yourself out of this really low place, it is doable, but it requires resources.
All this resources
and if
that
you're
I don't have.
at that really low place, you don't have resources. And so you could have gone after him. You could have gone the forensic accountant and gone to court and spent the $15,000 or whatever, who knows how long it would have taken to earn back in child support. But you don't have the resources because you're currently going through a bankruptcy. It's like, you gotta save your pennies for the filing fees.
That's how I felt. I was like, well, I have to pay for bankruptcy, so this is my priority right now. I was like, fine. If you once again do not want to respect and support the mother of your children, that's on you. To me, I was just like, in the long run, I know there will be justice.
It says more about him than it does about you.
Exactly.
And you just let him take ownership of that choice.
Yeah, so he thought he had another big win. He's patting himself on the back. And then then he's just waiting
for you to lose your home so he can have the kids full time and not pay you child support at all.
I know. I know. I really felt that from him. So about a month before I was going to have to move out of the house, you told me, Kat, why don't you come move in with us? And I was like, really? Really? Because, it was not just me. It was my kids and 4 cats and a dog.
Which is another obstacle that a lot of homeless people face when they're trying to find housing or go into a shelter, is they have animals.
Yeah.
They have a dog, or they have cats, or they have these animals that sometimes are their only family.
I was really worried about the animals, and the 2 cats are my daughter's cats, and I knew she would just freak out if we had to give him away. I mean, I mentioned it once, and the reaction I got from her, I was like, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, we'll find a way.
Yeah.
And so not only am I panicking about my kids, and I'm worried about our animals because we love them. They're a part of our family. But you tell me that I can move in with you, and I'm like, are you sure? So you have a spare bedroom downstairs, and the 3 of us were going to fit in it and squeeze in there. And I was like, okay, this could be an adventure. I was trying to see it as an adventure. And but your daughter ended up inviting my daughter into her room,
Our daughters are the same age,
and it's really
so,
cute.
and they get along really well.
This experience has actually been pretty amazing for
Well,
them.
it kind of makes me laugh because my daughter was always annoyed that she didn't have a sister. She's the only girl and has 3 brothers. And, now she has one.
I know, that's how my daughter is too. She's like, they like to say how we brought them together and now they're sisters. So.
They do say that they're sisters now.
So
it worked out.
So there is a little happy
But
ending here.
there was some good fortune there where things fell into place. We actually had a cat just die, and so he was the one who probably would have struggled the most with your cats coming. And then the girls got along really well, and it's just, there's so many situations where people end up homeless because they're in a temporary situation with friends or family and it doesn't work out. And
that's what I was worried about too. Like, I had a couple people offer me to come live with them, but I was like, man, you're not just inviting me, you are inviting my entire world, animals and kids. And I just felt so heavy to me. I was worried. And I knew I wouldn't be able to relax when I was there because I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. Yeah,
it's a bigger ask when kids are involved or animals are involved.
Yeah, and so...
But also, homeless people are people. And a lot of these animals are emotional, mental health service animals. And we act like, they're not entitled to ask for anything. They're not entitled to have anything that brings them joy because they're homeless. And so they should just be happy they can live anywhere, and they should just make do and give up the things that they love, or the things that bring them joy.
It's like we're treating these people like they're not humans, and that is actually what you feel like when you go through this. You really feel like that you are the scum of the
dehumanized. And you feel like you're not allowed to ask for anything because you should just be so grateful for any handouts that come your way, and so you should just take your breadcrumbs and say thank you.
Yeah, it's a really low point to be in. So we are packing up. We find out we're needing to be out of our home the end of October of 2024. I'm like, wait, what year is it right now?
Yeah.
So last year, and finally find out where I'm going to be moving. So I let my ex-husband know, okay, this is actually
the plan.
I was like, I'm going to let him know I've found a place to live. Well, I did not expect.
You hadn't quite realized how much he was banking on you losing the kids as a result of losing the house.
Yeah, so I got quite a few long paragraphs of him letting me know how he's not okay that I'm moving 30 miles north into my friend's home, and how unethical and unsafe it is or he worries about the kids' safety, and that we're going to be in a home with all these people.
Well, I am a pretty unethical, scary person. Some wild parties here every night.
And he's like, how about you let me have the kids, and you can still see them them on the weekends.
Pat you on the head.
He's like, I'm worried about the kids having to drive so far to school every day. And
oh yes, he's so worried about his children. So worried about their.
I'm worried about their stability. I'm like, I'm so glad you're finally worried about that.
Yeah.
And then he offers
and this is just a few months after doing the whole child support nonsense. It's like, oh yeah, you're really concerned.
Really concerned. And then he says, you know, they can still stay with me. I'll still pay my mandated child support each month to you until you find a home again in our town. And I was just so numb and so exhausted by everything that I was like, wow, I cannot believe I'm reading this right now. I'm surprised but not surprised. And I just wrote him back and said, no. I know what my legal rights are as a mother. They're going somewhere that is safe. We will be safe.
You've had the privilege of seeing everything my ex has gone away with. And all the living conditions he's put my kids through, and how little the system actually cares. That you're like, no, it actually takes a lot more than that for them to take my kids away.
Yeah, so I get another really long paragraph. That's what they like to do. They like to send you paragraphs and let you know how you're misbehaving, and basically letting me know that he will be speaking and communicating with his attorney. And I was just like, go right ahead.
I just really love, I can just picture this attorney so well. I'm not going to say his name, but anyway, your ex has just paid this attorney God knows how many thousands of dollars to get out of paying you a little bit of child support. And now he's calling the same attorney to complain that you are homeless. And how dare you do this to him?
And that I'm moving into my friend's basement.
And does he know that you are personally attacking him by living in your friend's basement?
I know. Well, my ex...
God bless this attorney.
I know. Well, I have wondered what he's thought, because over the last year, anytime there's a dispute between my ex and I, basically when I'm not doing what he wants me to.
When you let your daughter watch Friends.
Yeah. Well,
the attorney gets called.
Yeah, he lets me know that he's spoken to his attorney and is not okay with my living arrangements, and I need to figure out what to do.
Let's face it, people like your ex are the bread and butter of the family court system.
They really are.
These attorneys, this is where they make their money. $300 every time your ex is concerned.
Yeah, every time they need to make a phone call and needs to tattletale on their ex-wife who's not doing exactly what they want.
Do you know what a bad person she is?
So not only was I losing everything, then I had to deal with that. But my children did tell me that their dad asked them to stay with him, and they said they would not do that. They were like, why would we do that? And they chose to stay with me and stand with me. And I just am so grateful that they saw things clearly too, because if I lost my children, that probably would have been my last drop of rain.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hinted on it earlier, but I know that suicidal ideation was a part of the mental health struggles you were going through when all of this was happening.
It was. That was actually one of the reasons I got a therapist. It was not only because of what I was going through with my family. I needed someone that didn't know me or know them to clarify I'm not crazy and that it's abuse that's happening in the text and everything. But when I said about the dark place that you go to and you feel like there's no hope, sometimes the only outlet feels like taking your life. And those were definitely the lowest moments I ever had. And I don't say this in a way to get attention at all. I do understand when people talk about this stuff because I've been there. I've been there multiple times. I do get help for it. One of the fears I had about getting a therapist and getting help for this was that my ex would actually use it against me. So that's one of the reasons it took me so long to go and get help, is because they will do anything to make you look like you are not a stable person to raise your children. I am so grateful I found a therapist. It changed my world. I understand the amount of abuse I have endured through my entire life. And I'm in a place now where I have enough confidence to name it, see it, and say no to it. And that is one of the reasons for this podcast, is to give those out there that feel isolated, alone, in a dark place, like there's no hope. There is hope. There are people out there that can help you, and there is a way through it. It may feel like at times like it's never going to end, but it will. There are moments when the light shines through, and I, for myself, will feel glimmers of myself coming back. That fire I have that is willing to fight and stand up for things, or stand up for myself and my children. And just don't give up on yourself. The world needs people like us.
Well, that was really beautiful.
Thank you. I was trying to not cry.
Yeah, people act like our worth is attached to our monetary income, outcome.
It's actually been very embarrassing for me quite a few times to tell people my situation because I feel like this is defining who I am.
They put you in a category as a result. It's kind of like people who ask you what you do for a living because then they can kind of put you in a box like, oh, your social status is this or your intellectual status is this based on what you do for a living. But humans are so much more than that. And our value is so much more than that. I find the people who have enriched my life the most are not the people who have the most money. It's people who have been through the really hard things and have kept their compassion, their empathy, their softness alive. They have fought that battle without losing their humanity. And it's not an easy task, and it's one that's happening in the shadows all around us all the time.
We have been recognizing that this homelessness epidemic is growing, that things are changing in our world, in this country that we live in, and it's really scary. It is a really scary place to be, but we need to start talking, we need to start sharing, and we need to stand up for what's right because nobody's going to come and save us. The ones that are going to save you is you. You need to stand up for what you believe in, what you know is right, and we need to not let these predators, ex-husbands, these corporations, ex-partner, family members not define who you are, because it's not the truth, and the truth is the most powerful thing that we have.
Yeah, it's like you were saying earlier, how you felt like you were standing alone and you understood why other people didn't stand with you, but it also would have made all the difference in the world if someone had. And in order to push back against these corrupt systems, against these abusive practices, whether it's an individual or a corporation, we need to be willing to stand with each other. That's one of the points of this podcast, is to remind women that they are not alone, that you are not alone when you stand against abuse. And these corrupt systems will only be put in place when we do that. It's the only way out. Is through, and in standing with each other. That's where our power, that's where our strength really is.
I do want to just add before we close, my most favorite thing about going through all this.
Your favorite thing? The best part.
The best part, let's put it that way. I was trying to find the word I wanted. Thank you. The one part I will say that from going through all of this that I am grateful for is finding the ones that do stand with me. And although it's very few, there is some, and I know some of them listen to this podcast. I am so grateful for you. I found out who my true friends are. I found out who my family is. And through that, it helped me to keep going. And right now, Jay and I are here together talking and sharing about some very personal and difficult things that we've been through. And we are here sharing them to you, free woman, because we want to create a community of truth and the willpower to fight back.
And I would like to remind all the free women out there that none of us are free until all of us are free. And that goes for every woman, no matter her skin color, her social status, her gender identity, all of them. None of us are free until all of us are free. And so if you see someone who is going through an injustice, stand with her.
You have no idea how much you standing with her can change everything.
Thanks for listening.
Remember to like and subscribe.